Good afternoon. It is great to have everybody here for our annual Faculty Staff Awards Luncheon. Literally, I could not remember what we did last year, and somebody had to remind me we had box lunches last year. So I've wiped that memory out to make space for today. It's going to be a great, great day. So we've arrived at this unique moment in the academic year when the sprint to the finish line is ahead, but we also have the opportunity to sneak a peek over our shoulders to appreciate how far we've come. And it has been quite a run this year, but we made it. So yes, today I want you all to exhale, appreciate all of those good desserts on your table, and hear me say, job well done, Elon. Congratulations and thank you, and I mean every single one of you. Thank you for the role that you played in making this a successful year. Thank you for what you'll do over the next few weeks before we close out and the students head home. And on this day, I know that the last thing you want to hear about is a recap of our COVID adventures, Omicron, Delta, and everything else. So let's just say it wasn't fun, but also may have been some of your finest moments. We took care of each other, and I hope that will be the enduring message you'll find in the Elon history books 100 years from now. So rather than recount the details of year 2 of the pandemic, let's focus on the amazing work we did together this year on behalf of students at our university. Let's begin with a story, just one of thousands of stories that could be told about this academic year. But I think this small vignette exemplifies some important values of our community. Remember last September when we welcomed the class of 2020 back to campus for a special commencement celebration under the Oaks. Thanks to so many of you for making that wonderful event possible. It meant the world to those young alumni. The family of one of those graduates was looking forward to attending, mom, dad, and sister. But at the last minute, they hit a travel delay and were going to arrive too late to see their graduate walk across the stage. Literally, it was like a 20-minute issue. It would take too long to arrive at RDU, get that rental car, and get to campus in time. In that moment of anxiousness, the family called the Office of Parent Engagement to see if somehow their graduate could be moved to the end of the line to give them a few extra minutes to get here. So Jim Pyatt, Josie Snowberger, and their team had a better idea. They sent advancement staff member John Foster to pick the family up curbside at RDU, rush them to Elon, get them in their seats, and they made it, and 10 minutes later got to see their proud graduate on stage. Now, and I think John Foster's pretty new to Elon, but boy, does that represent he's embraced the Elon values there. It was an above and beyond moment, and very few people heard about the extra effort it took to create that special family memory. But that member of the class of 2020 had invested 4 years in earning an Elon degree and built lifelong relationships with many of you. So the people of Elon were committed to doing whatever it took to make that magic commencement moment a reality. This year, every day, in so many ways, all of you do the right things. You do whatever it takes to fulfill our mission, to have and see and witness and cheer on student success. And I am so proud and humbled by that commitment. Thank you. That special commencement was just the beginning of, really, in hindsight, a very productive year. We saw the full blossoming of work on the Boldly Elon strategic plan, launched a new nursing program. We're watching those new facilities come out of the new innovation quad, which I love calling the IQ. Our Francis Center is just hopping with all sorts of activity and those new nursing students. We saw our engineering program have a site visit and just get great accolades for what we're building in engineering. And I just heard from Greg Zeiser that in the incoming class, engineering is already a top 10 major here at Elon. So the excitement's building. And you all are staging the catalysts that help that excitement about Elon's future keep coming. So we've had lots of progress and lots to celebrate. I want to thank all of our divisions who have worked carefully this year to keep us moving on the forward track, and really excited to end this year. I don't know about you all, but I'm excited to end this year. It's always good to say goodbye in May and hello in August. So I know that not every unit has that same rhythm, but when students finish up and we get to see the class of 2025 and the outcomes, it truly is a rewarding moment to see those graduates head into whatever their passion and their what next. And I'm truly grateful for the relationships that we've had with those students, right? They're part of our lives, as well as we know they take Elon with them. So today really is a day of thank yous and celebration, chance to spend time with each other and check in with each other as we bring this academic year to a close. And we have to look forward to the celebration of great careers at Elon. This is always a touching time for all of us it's bittersweet to say goodbye to so many people who have left a legacy here at the university with their many contributions. So I look forward to that aspect of our program today, as well as celebrating just outstanding achievements by our colleagues as we reward the work of teaching and scholarship and service. So let's get to it. We'll turn it over first for our chaplain to get us started with an invocation.
Good afternoon. Would you join me in a moment of reflection? It has been said that if the only prayer you can utter is thank you, it would be enough. We are here in thanksgiving for having almost completed the journey of another academic year, with its ups and downs, and with all of the in-between times. We value our community, our colleagues, our students, and the good work that we engage in here together. Just like the choir, whose voices can sustain one note indefinitely, we know that we are sustained in this work only because of our ethos of camaraderie and togetherness, which allows any one of us to take a step back, to breathe, to recoup, and then to re-enter in the next moment, able to do so because of those to our right and those to our left, those behind us, and those in front of us who sustain the note, or in our case, who sustain the programs, the engagement, the work, the load. We sustain it for each other in all of our seasons. For this, all of this, and so much more, let us be in a space of thanksgiving. Many of the world's religious and spiritual and ethical traditions have language about the wisdom of knowing that there is a season for everything and a time for every purpose in which we engage. This is a season of the celebration of accomplishments and of assigning merit to work that has been well done. It is right that we lift each other up in these moments. This is also a time for the giving of grace and acknowledging that it is okay to be tired. It is normal to feel drained. It's human to need to breathe when the work is completed. May we continue to support each other in our spaces of need, as well as in our moments of joy. And may the time that we share here this afternoon be a blessed moment, a reminder of the importance of the togetherness in the work that we do. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Boswell. At a series of luncheons held this spring, we celebrated the employment anniversaries of faculty and staff, and I'd like to take a few minutes to recognize employees who have been with the university for more than 2 decades. I asked the faculty and staff celebrating 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40 years of service to stand and remain standing as I call your names. Please hold your applause until the end. Okay, Michael, I saw you already stand up. Go ahead, Mike. You're first on my list. Michael Kerrigan. So we'll go ahead and applaud you. Suloni and Vangori Den, Beverly Coltrane, Dustin Crawford, please stand, Tony Kreider, Casey Diorenzo, Linda Dunn, Michael Fells, Jay Harper, Anthony Hatcher, Sharon Hodge, Heidi Hollingsworth, Michelle Lashley, Kevin Lastly, Harlan Makomson, Janet Mays, Jim Platania, Paula Rosinski, Stacy Salt Speaker, Faith Shearer, Michael Skube, Jeff Stein, Honglin Xiao. Employees with 25 years of service: Bill Andrews, Mary Alice Bragg, Joyce Davis, Jaleh Hagee, Don Hensley, Lauren Keir, Morris Levesque, Fran McKenna, Paul Miller, Alan Russell, Karen Walter, Paul Weller, Nina Willer. Employees with 30 years of service: Val Drummond, Janet Rao, Gerald Whittington. Employees with 35 years of service: Patty Cox, Barbara Gordon, Doug McIntyre. Employees with 40 years of service: Chris Fulkerson, Kathy Lyday. Collectively, this group represents 1,060 years of service to Elon. Let's give them a round of applause. We are also honored today to have our dear friends and colleagues who have already retired joining us. Retired faculty and staff members, will you please stand so we can welcome you back? It's so great to have all of you here. And we'd like to celebrate those joining the ranks of the future retirees. 36 members of the Elon faculty and staff have retired or will retire this year. This afternoon, we will celebrate the careers of 8 members of our community. In addition to those 8, also retiring this year are Sadie Allen, Kathy Bill, Tom Brinkley, Ren Bryan, Barry Coe, Doris Davis, Dwight Davis, Jane Deaton, Carolyn Ent, Philip Goke, Thomas Green, Judy Hamler, Brian Hedrick, Glenda Ireland, George Jackson, Lauren Keir, Sandra Kilpatrick, Michelle Kleckner, Janet Mays, Catherine McNeila, Beverly McQueen, Laura Roselle, Ann Simpkins, Linda Summers, Troy Starnes, Anthony Stubblefield, Paul Weller, and Susan Williams. Wow, that's a list. Thank you for your service. We will begin this afternoon's recognition with remarks by Sean Giovanello for Jeff Colbert.
I'm honored to stand here and speak on behalf of Jeff Colbert, who's worked for over 32 years at Elon University. I started at Elon in 2008. In my first 2 years, I shared an office with Jeff. I learned a lot about him and how to be a good professor sharing that office. I saw passion, compassion, empathy, dedication, and a burning commitment to being the absolute best professor he could be every single day. I had taught classes before, but I learned an awful lot about the craft of teaching at the college level and how to comport myself as a professor from observing Jeff Colbert. He's taught many different classes in our department, whether they be political science, public administration, or policy studies. He regularly taught American government, our public administration class, state and local politics, and our local government simulation in recent years. It was always clear that whatever we needed, he taught. He watched and shaped how our department grew from less than a handful of faculty to 17 full-time faculty members today. Lauren Spahn, an Elon undergrad who we both had as a student, is now a highly successful entertainment lawyer in Nashville, Tennessee. She once told me that Colbert, as she called him, made all the difference in her education, and he was the department as far as she was concerned. I've thought a lot about that line over the years. Our department had amazing professors like Laura Roselle, Chalmers Brumbaugh, Sharon Spray, George Taylor, and the list goes on. For those who do not know, Jeff has been an adjunct at Elon for most of his career. This was his part-time job. Yet, he was the department to many students. It speaks well of him indeed. We even have a faculty member in our department who took Jeff's classes at UNC Greensboro and speaks of him in the same way as so many of our alums. He was a part-time colleague who made more than a full-time difference. In closing, the Jesuits who had the privilege of educating me in high school talked often about a life well lived, and specifically the idea of being a man for others. In my mind, Jeff Colbert is a man for others. In his entire life at Elon, he has embodied this ideal, whether it was dealing with faculty, staff, or students. Thank you, Jeff, for everything you have done for me personally, for all you have done for the department, the college, and the university. Fare thee well, my friend. Thank you.
It took me a minute to realize he was talking about me. It's been an honor to teach here. I do want to, in a brief time, just thank two groups of folks. First is my family. They're over here. I can't look at them because I'll cry if I do. But having taught part-time, as Sean said here, or almost full-time, but teaching full-time elsewhere, it takes a lot of time away from your family. And my family has made that sacrifice so I could give myself to students here and at UNC Greensboro, where I teach full-time. I also want to thank my department. I came at a very long time ago when, as Chalmers mentioned, the department only had 3 full-time faculty, and I was one of 2 part-timers. And I've seen the department change a great deal, and I have contributed to the department, but my department also allowed me and encouraged me to participate. From the very first semester, I was not treated as anybody other than as a faculty member. I was in on almost every hire. I was at every retreat the department did. I was invited to every faculty meeting we had. It was never, he's the part-timer, it's just Jeff's a part of the department. I wanted that to be the case, but without them allowing me to be that, I could not have done so. And I'm very, very, very grateful to them. Thank you.
So occasionally in my line of work, I'm asked to explain to my students what a poem is. What is a poem for? And I tell them that a poem is a device for revealing wonder in the world. It takes something that we might otherwise not notice, and it represents it in a different way. It makes it new again, reveals its magic, makes it wonderful. If a poem helps you see the wondrousness of the world, then my dear friend and colleague Barbara Gordon resembles a poem more than any person I've known. And for decades, Barbara has helped her students, her colleagues, and her friends appreciate the full wonder of this too often flawed world. She's done this for students in Florence, where she revealed how the transformative power of art and language lives in the streets and buildings of that city, just waiting to be noticed, unlocked, and felt. She's done this in Alaska at a campfire under the night stars, where her students felt the overwhelming power and strangeness of nature, a power so fearsome that Barbara, and I'm quoting her on this, was too afraid to leave her tent at night to pee. And she's brought wonder to first-year writing, a program Barbara herself developed, and whose signature outcome is still one that she created, that students will appreciate the capacity of writing to change oneself and the world. What a noble undertaking for the composition classroom. What an inspiring, clear-eyed articulation of why writing matters and what it can do. Finally, she's done it for me and for her many friends here in late-night conversations about how death might not be an ending, but simply a shift in perspective, or indeed in how she greeted me when I answered her phone call this morning. Kevin, it's a beautiful day, and so it is. In her poem, The Summer Day, Mary Oliver reflects on a lifetime spent noticing the beauty of the world. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last, and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? At Elon, Barbara has spent her life making our lives more wild and more precious. Barbara, we are so blessed to know you. Congratulations on 35 wonderful years.
Thank you, Kevin. You just secured yourself a lifetime of homemade tiramisu. There's a saying that if you hold on to the wheel of change, you'll get run over. And I have felt my toes getting close to being squeezed, and I know I have to step away now. And looking back, that wheel spun so fast, it makes me dizzy. I am so grateful that many of the waking moments of my adult life have been spent alongside students and faculty, learning and laughing with them. And my heart is just filled with gratitude. Thank you.
I'm here to honor the retirement of my colleague and my dear friend, Janet McFall. Her impact on Elon, on the Environmental Studies Department, and on my time at Elon would be hard to describe in the little bit of time that I have here. Janet first came to Elon in 1996 to start the Environmental Studies program. In the beginning, it was an interdisciplinary program which depended upon the willingness of people from lots of different departments to give extra time and energy to hold this fledgling program together. And it was Janet's energy that made that happen. She took us on retreats away from campus so that we had to camp together and travel together and eat together and share in the mission of the program. All the while, she became deeply involved in local communities. She founded the Center for Environmental Studies, which I now direct, and her impact on the local community is vast. Most people don't know this, but the Haw River Trail, a great asset to the county, was directly because of Janet's hard work getting grant money from the EPA and working with the Parks and Rec Department to make that program happen. And the list of those kinds of projects just goes on and on. She founded the student chapter of the Sierra Club, which I now advise. She was the founding advisor for the Sustainability Living Learning Community, which we are now growing into something that's going to be truly exciting at Loy Farm. Speaking of Loy Farm, it was sitting on the front steps of Powell House late one afternoon that Janet and I brainstormed the concept of a new path for the Environmental Studies Department to go into agroecology and green design together, two paths that most universities were not following in their Environmental Studies Department, which now has yielded us two great colleagues, Loy Farm, the Design Build Studio, and all of the good things coming out of those programs. But probably more important than anything else for my time up here talking about Janet has been her impact on me. Team teaching is something that we value at Elon, but it's not something we all get to do very often. It's certainly not for long periods of time because the opportunities aren't there. Because of the nature of the Environmental Studies Senior Sem, and Janet's insistence from day one that all the different tracks of majors come together in one senior sem and experience it together, we take our two sections of environmental sim and bring them together, and the students don't really know that they're in different sections. And from the beginning, this was seen as a very grueling course. Janet started it, and she would ask for volunteers from the interdisciplinary group to help out, and people would usually do it for 2 years, maybe 3, and then it just became exhausting. And she approached me in 2007 and said, "I think it's your turn, buddy." And I said, "Yeah, you know, I'm truly interested in the capstone experience. I've got some ideas. Let's give it a shot," thinking I would come on board for a couple of years and do my part. This past fall, we finished our 15th senior sem together. And I don't think many people get that opportunity for the team experience. We have been shoulder to shoulder in that class for 15 years now, to the point where we can read each other's thoughts and finish each other's sentences. Most of you who teach senior sims know that sometimes seniors can get a little antsy and cranky by that point in their career path. And our senior sim is such a grueling experience that we often have that kind of couple of students who get a little feisty with us. I'll never forget the day that I was walking to my office and I heard one of our seniors in Janet's office with the door partially closed, and they were having a conversation, and the student was claiming that I had said something about her not having to do some of the work that was assigned to her. And she said, "I've been working closely with Professor Strickland, and I think I know what he said." And Janet said, "Well, I've been working closely with him for a lot longer, and I can guarantee you he never said that." Later on, that student showed up one afternoon about 2 years after she graduated during senior sem, asked if she could speak to the class, and we looked at each other and said, "Well, I don't know about this, but yeah, sure." And she stood up and said, "I just came from a retreat my company sent me on the Outer Banks, and I had a rental car. I drove back to the airport in Raleigh, and I looked at my watch and realized I had about 5 hours before my flight, and I realized it was senior sem day. So I drove over here to talk to you guys, and I just want to tell you that I was one that gave McFall and Strickland a hard time, but McFall told me," she said, "I know you're going to go on to do great things in the world, and we're counting on you for that. I also hope one day you'll realize why we're doing this sim this way." And she said, "I'm here to tell you that I was in a group. My company chose me in my second year to come to this national workshop, and I was at a workshop with people with graduate degrees and 10 years experience, and the instructors told me afterwards that I was the most prepared 2-year employee they had ever come across. And she said, they mentioned the exact words that McFall mentioned to me that day, grit and resiliency and adaptation. And she said, that's what the senior sim is about, and I hope you guys appreciate it, even if you are giving them as much trouble as I am. I just found out the other day that in honor of all of Janet's hard work, that the family of one of our seniors has endowed a research fund, the Gelman family, and it will be the Janet McFall Research Fellowship Fund for students doing research in environmental studies. And when Janet and her husband James found out and then realized that it would take a couple of years for the fund to mature before students could begin accessing the funds, they put in money of their own so that students will be able to access those funds as of next year. It was back in 2008 when we were trying to make a hire into the department, and we realized that there was no place to put this person because he truly was an interdisciplinary environmental studies scholar. And we lost the hire because we had no home for him. And Stephen House said to us, well, we can't let this happen again, turn into a department. And Janet took that job on her shoulders because he said that to us in May. She took that job on her shoulders, and over the course of the summer created all the paperwork to turn us into a fully fledged department, and then went door to door to strong-arm some of us to become a part of that department. And I was one of those who did that. We began to call her down there Planet Janet because the force, the gravitational field around her when she starts working is one that draws you in. Janet always said to me that when she retired, she said, I'm a little tiny person and people don't think of me as an environmentalist because I'm not an activist. I envy those colleagues of mine that are activists. I wish I could do that. So when I retire, I want to step out of my comfort zone and I'm going to join Greenpeace. I want to see myself on one of those little cigarette boats cutting off some illegal fishing vessel. So she's leaving us before we're ready for her to go. But we're confident that the legacy of Planet Janet will live on in our department. And one day, I want to look at my news feed and see this tiny little woman on the bow of one of those ships holding a rope as you cut off a Russian oil vessel in the North Sea. Happy trails, buddy.
Give him a hug. You're gonna make me cry.
I have to put the microphone down. I am a short little person. I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening to what the kind words Michael had to say. It's been an honor to be here at Elon University. Who else gets to start a brand new department? And Elon's very first interdisciplinary department. And I left a faculty position at Duke University to come here and do this. And I have enjoyed every minute, and long live Elon.
I'm Risa Walton. I'm honored to talk about Debby Perry. And I told her I thought I was right at 3 minutes, and she pays attention to detail, so she'll probably cut me off if I'm not. So let me just get started. My first day here almost 25 years ago, I showed up for an interview, and Debby told me everything that was important. She was the first person I met. Let me show you where the bathroom is. Let me show you where the water fountain is. Let me look at that agenda and give you a little insight on everybody that's going to interview you today. And then she asked me about my family, and I thought, is this woman nosy or what? She wasn't. She was interested in me, really determining, is Elon a good fit for me, and am I a good fit for Elon? I'm not special. Over 25 years of watching her, she did that for every faculty member that came to interview for 4 different departments. She got them off on the right foot, and a lot of them are here today. Not only that, she helped us navigate those first few months, helped us avoid missteps, and just watched out for our well-being. It started for me a friendship that I treasure. Over 30 years as a program assistant, I want you to imagine how many department chairs this woman has worked for. It is a quirky, diverse, interesting group. So I decided to reach out to them. This isn't just me talking about Debbie. What would these people say about Debbie? Send me a word or two. I got 50. I'll just read you a couple. Smart, proficient, dependable, expert, essential, vital, trustworthy, generous, supportive, caring, patient, funny. After 30 years, if that many past and current department chairs are saying that about you, damn good job, girl. I'm not done. In addition, I want you to imagine a program assistant's job over the last 30 years and how many technology changes, not only that they've seen, but that they've mastered. It is impressive. And when Debbie learned new technology that she thought might be helpful to us as faculty or department chairs, she'd bring us in, try to teach us. About 15 or 20 minutes, she'd say, let's get out the dark chocolate and take a break. And then we'd come back, and she'd keep at it until we learned what we needed to know. I want to say something about mentoring. Debbie was an advisor to a student group for many years, and I stood back and watched her tap students on the shoulder before we called it tapping students on the shoulder. She took seriously the concept of that group, what it was meant to do, and how it was to help students grow. And I watched her plan evening, weekends, and spring breaks. It was transformative. She worked so hard and would never have called herself a mentor. She was a mentor, and she was first rate. In addition to that, student workers would come to work in our offices as first-year students. They didn't want to leave until they were seniors. They knew they were in the presence of something really important. Debbie taught them professionalism. She taught them how to just be better at what they could be. She tapped them on the shoulder. She moved the needle for them. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Personally, Debbie and I bonded over mama-isms. We were both raised by very strong, stubborn, independent Southern women. So we would often share mama-isms, as we like to call it. And if you put our two families together, as they say in the South, it's more than you could shake a stick at. So we've cried, we've laughed, we've talked about, we've shared about our families, but in particular our mamas. And I think this will tell you what a good human being she is. My mother died at 90. Debbie's mom is now in her 90s. And I called Debbie on Sunday afternoon and told her that Mama had died. And I said, Debbie, what I really need, 2 days of normalcy. It was in the middle of a very busy semester. And I said, and I'd rather people not know. And if I can come to work for 2 days and get all of this done, then I can go and be fully present with my family and celebrating the life of my mother. Debbie helped me compartmentalize my grief, and then she shared my grief. She is an amazing, beautiful, wonderful human being. Her pathway here is not ending. For a woman that's had this impact on faculty, staff, and students, she's going in a different path, but this one's not over. It's here forever. And I would suggest to you, she is at the top of the class of Elon's finest. And don't ever forget, Debby Perry is one of those people that made us finer. She is Elon's finest.
Wow. She's got a good memory. I'm told that I have to keep what I say to 1 minute, and I don't know how you wrap up 30 years in 1 minute, but I've already taken a couple of seconds away, so let me get started. Even though many of the days went by very, very slowly, the years have gone by so fast. When we moved to Burlington in 1991, I had never, ever heard of Elon College. I was from a small town an hour and a half from here, didn't know anything about it. If it had not been for my then next-door neighbor, Karen Hughes, who worked in the bursar's office, who told me about a job opening as a secretary. Now, the job postings back then were on the wall across the hall from the bursar's office. And if it weren't for her telling me that, and Dr. Janie Brown, who took a chance on hiring me 30 years ago, I would not be here today. Janie could not be here today. I told her it broke my heart that she couldn't be here today. But if Karen Hughes, if you're out there, thank you for leading me to this place. I have been blessed to serve under 8 deans in 3 different schools, work with 9 wonderful department chairs, one of who is Risa Walsh, support 100+ faculty. I worked for 4 when I came here, and alongside many wonderful colleagues across this campus. I want to give a big thank you to my family for their love and support all these years, and especially during those years that I served the Baptist Student Union and had students into my home and went on trips with them. They sacrificed time with Mom. I sacrificed time with them, but I made some precious memories. Many of these kids still call me Mama Debbie, and I'm honored. I have lots of grandchildren that are not naturally mine. It has been a wonderful ride. I have truly enjoyed my time at Elon. Peace and blessings to you all.
Gene Rattigan-Rohr's mission is for all of us to understand that from birth to 3rd grade, children must learn to read, because from 3rd grade on, children read to learn. Reading proficiency is hugely consequential to a child's future. One of Gene's most glorious creations at Elon, the Village Project, has changed the trajectories of thousands of kids and their families by powering up the reading skills of young children, surrounding them with resources and individualized reading instruction, and lots of love so that all kids may thrive. The Village Project is the brainchild of a scholar, an expert in the teaching of reading and teaching diverse learners, an inspiring professor, and a fearless leader who is passionate about strengthening our community by improving the lives of many of its youngest and most vulnerable citizens. In Gene's world, Elon has no walls. I once asked Gene for some big-time help. Our Young Odyssey program was experiencing some growing pains. So I asked Gene to come with me and listen to students and figure out what needed to change. We listened, and then Gene said, "I know what to do." Her formula of high expectations for success and excellence, wraparound mentoring and support, and hiring a spectacular staff won the day. Today, Odyssey has grown to 200 scholars, many of Elon's finest students, and $100 million of our institution's endowment is devoted to Odyssey. That would have never happened without Jean's transformative leadership. Of course, the Village Project and Odyssey became important building blocks, along with the Elon Academy and first-gen student support in Elon's Center for Access and Success, with Jean as the center's founding director. Jean has built the center into a ladder of opportunity for young people. Access and success. Jean's leadership has animated both of these key goals at Elon. While leading this landmark change, Jean won 8 awards and wrote a book and dozens of peer-reviewed articles and presentations. Jean has shattered ceilings as well as walls. She is unsurpassed at Elon in her track record of receiving millions of dollars from international, national, and local foundations to support her mission. She is the first Black woman on the main campus to be promoted to full professor. Fortunately, others have followed. She's the first Black woman to join the president's senior staff. She's Elon's first Black vice president. Elon has been blessed by the vision and the voice of Jean Rattigan-Rohr. Hers is the voice of hope. Hers is the voice of compassion, of faith, of fairness and justice, of generosity, of community, of one love. Jean, on behalf of this Elon family and of every child who will enjoy reading today because of the difference you have made, thank you for showing us what leadership with love looks like.
Thank you, Leo, for those kind words. I really appreciate them. So one of the really cool things about getting to these interesting life pathways is that you get the opportunity to simultaneously look back and look forward with a little bit more clarity. While I look forward with great anticipation to what this next chapter of my life will bring, I also glance back with satisfaction and gratitude. Satisfaction and gratitude only made possible because of the many opportunities I have received here, and also because of the wonderful colleagues, many of whom have become dear friends, who've walked this path with me faithfully over the years. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for making my time here at Elon a happy and rewarding one. Long live Elon.
My name is Anthony Hatcher. I am chair of the journalism department, and I have no idea what I was thinking by printing this in 12-point font. The first time I ever heard of Michael Skube was when I read his column in the book review section of the Raleigh News and Observer. I vividly recall also seeing his photo on the front page of the newspaper when he won the Pulitzer Prize for distinguished literary criticism in 1989. The first time I ever saw Michael Skube in person was when he and I joined the faculty of Elon University together 20 years ago in 2002. I was thrilled to become a colleague of the journalist whose words had captivated me in the 1980s when I was just starting out as a journalist myself as a child. Before coming to Elon, Michael spent a semester as a visiting professor of journalism at Indiana University, Bloomington. At Elon, he has taught a variety of courses, including politics and media, a particular favorite of his. Yet his legacy lies in his mentorship as a writing teacher. Many students have contacted Michael over the years to tell him what a positive impact he's had on their lives. I want to read the remarks of just one of those former students, Catherine Blunt, now a Wall Street Journal reporter nominated for a Pulitzer herself as part of a team reporting on the deadly fires in Northern California. Katie writes, I have the fondest memories of Professor Skube. He was immensely supportive, always willing to lend an ear, and very generous in connecting students with the many reporters and editors he had befriended over the years. He also helped me land my first big internship at the News and Observer. He was quick to offer praise as well as honest, thoughtful criticism, and his students were better for it. More than anything, he wanted them to succeed. I, for one, owe a lot of my success to him. By the way, Katie's first book comes out later this year. Let me conclude with some of Michael's own words. I grew up wanting nothing more from life than to write for newspapers. I began covering local sports when I was a sophomore in high school, and to this day, no experience in journalism has made me happier than seeing my byline in print for the first time. He was 15. As for winning that Pulitzer, Michael writes, it was nice, but something else has meant more. That was knowing I proved myself pretty good in almost every form of print or online journalism there is. Not that I was ever the best. Few people realize how different one form of writing is from another, or how strongly the instincts necessary for political reporting, say, work against the storyteller's impulse to paint word pictures, to make the words sing. He finished that passage with saying, now I derive an unexpected satisfaction from showing young people how to make their own words sing. Thank you, Michael, for 2 decades of teaching Elon students to make their words sing. Happy retirement.
Thank you, Anthony. In the 20 years I've been here, I've made some wonderful friends. I've known some very special students, and I've had a lot of fun. And for that, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, Anthony, you're right about the 12-point font. Bad call. Bad call. I have the great honor to be invited to say a few words today about my colleague and my friend, Dr. Hal Walker. First, let's talk about a few academic highlights. Hal taught sport management at Elon for 20 years, served as department chair for 6 of those years. He produced 50 refereed publications, over 130 presentations. He won faculty awards for leadership, for service, was named Educator of the Year by multiple professional organizations. He launched the Barbados Winter Term Study Abroad class in 2004, which he then taught for 12 years. And in terms of mentorship, he taught me there's no reason not to do winter term near a beach, so I'm thankful for that. Hal guided the sport management department during a really important time when we were growing, and it became really common for our students to wind up at places like the NBA, the NFL, major college athletic programs, all kinds of other high-profile employees. But I know from Hal's own words that his proudest accomplishments were in fundraising and in service. During his career, his event management classes raised over $75,000 for various local charities. He created a sport management majors club, which he led for 14 years. He created an endowed scholarship fund in our department and grew that fund to $175,000, and it now funds the summer costs for a couple of our students each year that have financial need. And it was actually through fundraising that Hal and I first got to know each other, really. He was desperate for volunteers and recruits and asked me if I would help the department staff a concession stand at the U.S. Open down at Pinehurst many years ago. And we had a lot of windshield time. We got to know each other a bit through that. And Hal became a mentor. He was the first person in the sport management department who hired me to adjunct, hired me later for, I'd done some internships already, asked me later to apply for a full-time position and was in a leadership position when I was hired. When I came on board at the department, he was the go-to person for everything from making the shift from adjunct to full-time, advising, grading, and even the mysteries of the degree audit. It wasn't just me, though. Hal impacted everyone in our department. I asked for some feedback from the other folks in the department, and some of the things I got back were Hal is caring, kind, compassionate, Canadian, easygoing, loyal, patient, supportive, calm, a master mentor, a foundational member of our department, inspiring to students, and last but not least, family-oriented. And I want to say a couple words about Hal's family. I know his family is his pride and joy, and that connects to Elon as well. Both his daughters, Lisa and Erica, graduated from Elon. Both are married and gainfully employed, which is what every parent wants for their child after they get out of college. Lisa's actually here today, and Lisa actually has come through with some grandkids, making Hal a very happy grandpa. Grayson and Cole, 6 and 4 years old. And Lisa shared some words. She described her dad as her hero. And I would also say, just like Hal has been for our students, Lisa describes him as dependable, reliable, and a constant source of advice and support, both in life and in parenting. So those are very strong words from Lisa. Of course, Hal didn't do any of these things alone. Hal's wife, Chris, has been at his side as partner throughout their life and this professional journey. And I've observed them over the years, and I know this is a true partnership. Through a teaching career that included stops in Connecticut, Florida, and North Carolina, Hal and Chris raised their girls together. Chris also pursued her own career as a nurse, and she was Hal's confidant, advisor, and unfailingly his #1 cheerleader. And that is noticeable. And of course, ultimately, we're all here because of students. We exist because of students. And when I came on full-time with the department, Hal reminded me that teaching was really important, the classroom was really important, but he also reminded me there were lots of other things that we do that are equally important. And relationships with students are foundational. I believe, Leo, you've told us many times we're in the business of human relationships. And one of the ways Hal had of connecting with students, a very unique way, was juggling. Yes, juggling, like in the circus. This was one of Hal's hidden talents, and he had a long-running tradition of taking his introductory classes over to Curry Gym, and he would teach them to juggle. Not a traditional piece of course content, but the important thing in that experience, well, of course, the students probably have a chance to impress people at parties. They probably won some bar bets by being able to juggle, which is an excellent professional skill. But of course, the important thing was the memories, the laughter, and the human connection forged by this kind of interaction. And that's what Hal was about, and that is what his legacy will be when we look back on his time at Elon. This was a career that positively impacted thousands of students. Hal, I'm proud to call you a friend. On behalf of all of us in the department, we wish you all the best for a happy, long, healthy retirement full of beach time and grandkids. Congratulations on a job well done.
I want to thank Mark for commenting on my wife and 2 beautiful daughters. I'm going to echo Jeffrey and look this way, but that just saves me from saying anything about them verbally because I'm a little bit of a mushball too. But I do thank my wife, Christine, of almost 43 years, and my 2 beautiful daughters. Thank you for being here. And sorry, our other daughter couldn't make it, but that's that. I do have one very brief complaint. I started in 2002 also. That's 20 years by my definition. However, I left in December, so officially I'm 19.5 years, which is really upsetting because I really wanted those steak knives. But I do thank my wife for following me through 6 different professional stops, but lucky for me, I ended at Elon. And just maybe two quick stories that are kind of linked, that both share the same message. We wanted to get down to the coast, Sunset Beach, to be around our house that we're attempting to build, that we finally have a closing date of June 28th. And our next door neighbor, I noticed as we would drive by our house watching the progress, there were two flags out front, two small flags. One was an Elon flag, and the other one was an Ohio State flag. I went to grad school at Ohio State. So we had the opportunity to meet our neighbors, and their daughter went to Elon. And not only that, she had a close friend who happened to be one of my students. And they were chatting, and I think somebody said, one of my favorite professors is moving to this community, and the neighborhood girl said, yeah, he's moving next door. And so we learned that, and they share accolades that we all hear repeatedly over the years that we've been here. I'm sure you have too. Just what a great place Elon is, and what a great opportunity it was for them to earn their education here. So they speak praise about Elon. And then we were at another function just 2 weeks ago, and another young man, like 59, came up and said, oh, you were at Elon? And I told him the story. He said, well, one of my children went to Elon, and one of my other two children went to University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And they said, my daughter who went to Elon had a great experience. And then he kind of left it at that. So the colleagues I've met and made, and the friends, and congratulations to all my fellow retirees. I echo the Debby Perry impact, which is profound. She was my first administrative assistant, and all the other great colleagues that have done what I've always aspired to do, have an impact on students and impact their futures, which is kind of what we're all here for. And it's been a real blessing to be on the stage with my two presidents, Dr. Lambert and Dr. Book, and the comment that is shared to students about how Elon will never leave you. It's not just for students, it's for faculty too. So thank you for that.
Everyone, my name is Linda Polson, and I'm honored to be here to say a few words about my colleague and friend, Dr. Paula Weller. It would take me 3 hours to describe Paula's impact on Elon, but I only have 3 minutes, so I'll try to hit a few highlights. Paula started her career at Elon as an adjunct faculty member, but acted like a full-time, fully engaged faculty member from day one. Her level of engagement in the department and with students set her apart from any other adjunct I had worked with. Paula always tried to involve her colleagues in her research projects. She has co-authored several publications with faculty members both inside and outside of the accounting department, myself included. Thank you, Paula. She co-authored a research paper that was awarded Best Paper at the American Accounting Association 9th Symposium of Ethics, Research, and Accounting. She also co-authored 2 ethics cases that were entered into the IMA Educational Case Journal Summer and Fall competitions, which placed 2nd and 1st respectively. Paula loves working with students. She recruited a team of students to compete in the Institute of Management Accountants National Student Case Competition and served as a faculty advisor. In Elon's first year of participating in this competition, Elon's team took 1st place and finished as a top 4 team the following year. She encouraged students to take the Certified Management Accountants exam and worked with students to secure IMA scholarships to cover the cost of the exam. Because of her efforts, several of our students have now passed the CMA exam. Paula has always stressed the importance of writing in a field that most people think of only include numbers, accounting. She began by teaching her class how to write memos to appropriate levels of management regarding various accounting issues. From there, she initiated a writing contest among her classes, utilizing members of the Accounting Board of Advisors as judges. She co-authored a teaching case on ethics and used the case in her classes, requiring students to write a memo to the chairman of the Finance Committee addressing various ethical issues. When Elon announced its Writing Excellence Initiative as the focus of its first quality enhancement program and put out a call for departments to participate in a pilot program, Paula jumped into action. Driven by her passion for writing, she pushed the accounting department to apply to be part of the pilot program. The pilot program was a 5-year commitment for the department, but Paula took on the challenge and became the department's first flight collaborative fellow. Through hard work and help and dedicated colleagues, Paula spearheaded the process of infusing writing across the accounting curriculum. Paula served as the department's assessment coordinator for assurance of learning for more than 10 years, diligently gathering information for designated courses and preparing the department's annual report on assessment progress. For anyone who has been involved in developing a new graduate-level degree program from scratch, then you know the incredible amount of work that goes into this process. When the department began to develop a Master of Accountancy program, Paula worked on this endeavor for many years and was instrumental in bringing it to fruition. Let me end with this. I've barely touched the tip of the iceberg in describing Paula's many contributions to the department, school, university, and students. She not only embodies Elon's teacher, scholar, mentor model, she also contributes to the life of the university in many impactful ways. In 2014, she received the LSB Dean's Award for exemplary service in recognition of her hard work and dedication. Thank you, Paula, for being a great colleague and for your dedication to Elon over the past 23 years.
Thank you, Linda. An older lady once said, "You know you're getting old when you look down to your shoulder to brush off a hair and it's attached to your chin." You didn't hear it in the back, but that's okay. I'm not there yet, but I'm sure that someday I will be. We've heard a lot about individuals, our retirees, and what they have given to Elon, but I wanted to briefly make a few comments about what Elon has given to me. My blessings, as I call it. The first blessing I had is I got paid to do what I really like to do, and that is to teach someone about accounting. And I know some of you are going, I cannot believe this, but it is a love for accounting as well. Another blessing that I had is that way back 17 years ago, Elon actually had one of these programs where they allowed you to go and travel, and you pay just a little bit of money so that you get exposed to cultures elsewhere. And so we got to go to London and England, a group of us from Elon, staff and faculty. And this was one of these great experiences I had. I got to meet a lot of nice folks, some of which are retiring with me this year too, Gerald. And we got to go on this trip, and we got to see culture, we got to enjoy this, and I got to meet a lot of individuals at Elon that I never would have known otherwise. In particular, one was my husband-to-be. So that was one. Another blessing that I had is that my daughter got to go out of state to a university that's in our conference, and basically tuition-free, where she met her fiancé. And then last, I'd like to say in terms of my blessings is my department. Now, I know the students, we all can talk about our great students, but one thing I want to remind you about is that I have a department where they put up with my crazy ideas, and basically encouraged me to be creative, not with the accounting numbers, but in my ideas. And they also made me feel like my opinion mattered. Not every place where you work does. My department of colleagues are my friends, and I really appreciated that. I hope that all of you when you're looking at what your blessings are at Elon, we all have them. I hope you look back and hopefully forward, have more blessings to come. I'll leave you with this one saying that I saw on a sign one time, and I came and wrote it up on my board, my whiteboard in my office. It says, aspire to inspire before you expire. And basically, I hope I have done the inspiring, and I sure hope my expiration date is many years out. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Before we begin our awards presentations, I've been asked to make a few announcements. First, as part of our sustainability efforts, and another thank you from the university, the person whose program has the monogram Elon E on the back may leave with the geranium at the table and enjoy its blooms throughout the summer months. Okay, we couldn't have an event like today or the thousands of other meetings and events we host on campus without the support and dedication of our Elon Dining Services partners, our event setup and moving crew, environmental services, cultural programs, and technology. Please join me in a community thank you for their commitment to the goals of Elon University. Today is indeed a day of celebration. Over the next several minutes, we will present 4 major university awards: the Stephen and Patricia House Excellence in Mentoring Award, the Periclean Award for Civic Engagement and Social Responsibility, the Distinguished Scholar Award, and the Daniels-Danieley Award for Excellence in Teaching. At the conclusion of the ceremony, we ask today's award recipients to please come to the front of the room so that we can take photographs. It is my honor to be able to present the Stephen and Patricia House Excellence in Mentoring Award. Beginning in 2007, Elon University has annually recognized one faculty or staff person who has demonstrated a sustained commitment to Elon undergraduates through outstanding mentoring. This award reflects the high value Elon places on faculty and staff who demonstrate a sustained commitment to the intellectual and holistic development of undergraduates, who facilitate invaluable learning experiences outside of a classroom setting, who provide information and opportunities that enhance the likelihood that students will achieve their academic or career goals, who provide constructive advice and an encouraging push when needed, and who encourage undergraduates to pursue meaningful opportunities. Would the past Mentoring Award recipients please stand to be recognized? This year's awardee received nominations from faculty, colleagues, students, and alumni, all of whom praised this person's profound impact on students through their commitment to and passion for inspiring, challenging, supporting, and celebrating the whole student. This year's recipient is recognized for their deep impact and commitment to students that has been characterized by one of their nominators as instrumental in helping them identify their purpose, build their skill set, and push them to become an effective community leader. Their connection with Elon students through mentoring is powerful and continues on in their years as Elon alumni. This colleague's mentoring of undergraduate students has been integral to their pursuit and attainment of high-quality internships, fellowships, and admission to graduate programs at some of the finest institutions in the world, like Cambridge and the University of Southern California. One alumnus remarked that their relationship with this year's recipient was undoubtedly the most rewarding and transformative experience that they had at Elon University. One of the defining characteristics of an excellent mentor is the ability to simultaneously challenge and encourage students. One nominator describes this year's recipient as someone with a strong set of values, who is an encourager and a partner in thought, who helps you see the good in yourself and your work, especially when that may be difficult, while empowering you to reach for more. This is accomplished through this colleague's skillful engagement and deep commitment to their students. and that nurtures the development of trusting relationships that last well beyond their time at Elon. One former student writes that this colleague is one of the professors that they have kept in touch with at Elon, and they continue to encourage and offer guidance as the chapters of their life unfolds. This colleague's interactions with students has led them to consider lofty possibilities and opportunities that are life-shaping. As a student writes, without this colleague's deliberate emphasis on student-led mentoring approach, where conversations are guided but not led, where critical analysis is supplemented but not shaped, and self-reflection is relaxed and never inauthentic, I strongly believe that I would not have experienced the amount of personal growth and confidence in my research capacity. Letters of nomination from students and alumni describe the influence that this colleague had on them in the following way. The nominee has the ability to provide just the right amount of guidance while also pushing their students to be self-starters and independent thinkers. The awardee's mentorship strengthened my leadership skills and empowered me to make meaningful connections and contributions to the lives of people in my community. One of the best lessons I learned from this colleague was that change is slow, and thus it is as important to celebrate and relish the small victories along the way as it is to celebrate the big milestones. These past and current students also share the sentiment that this year's recipient got to know them as an individual and supported their learning and personal growth. One alum writes, "I will always appreciate this colleague's dedication and guidance as a research supervisor, their rigor and coherence as a professor, their time, effort, and kindness outside of the classroom, their enthusiasm and leadership as a volunteer beyond the walls of the university, and their unwavering lifelong support." Throughout the nomination materials, this colleague is described as dedicated, challenging, insightful, kind, generous, and supportive. They are clearly dedicated to student learning and success. Nominators note how this colleague is committed to mentoring, inclusion, and student well-being, and describe him as an inspiration to many. In addition to shaping the development of his students and being a high-quality teacher, scholar, and mentor, this faculty member has mentored Lumen Prize recipients, Leadership Prize recipients, Schur Scholars, a U.S. Department of State Critical Language Scholarship recipient, and a Gates Cambridge Scholar. He has also served as the faculty in residence for the Global Neighborhood and mentored Elon's Anthropology and Sociology Student Club since 2014. Please join me in celebrating our friend and colleague, Dr. Musa Idris, Associate Professor of Anthropology, as the 2022 recipient of the Stephen and Patricia House Excellence in Mentoring Award.
Thank you, Paul. I am just humbled. I have learned so much from Elon, from my department, the people that I met here. I know, this recognition can go to so many of you. I just want to say thank you very much, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Established in 2003, the Periclean Award for Civic Engagement and Social Responsibility has been awarded to 19 Elon staff and faculty. We would like to recognize the previous recipients whose names are listed in the program. Please stand if you are present and able. Thank you. Eugene M. Lang was the founder of Project Pericles, and his vision gave rise to many Periclean initiatives now on campuses across the United States. Today, we recognize an Elon University member who embodies the spirit of civic engagement and social responsibility. Strengthening relationships and showing up when you are called on is how this person lives. And I am honored to share a few words that supports that claim. Colleagues, students, alumni, and partners beyond campus hold this year's awardee in high regard. A common thing among nominators is the premium value that this year's awardee places on community. Reading their letters of support drew me to a quote by educator and civil and women's rights activist Dorothy Heights. Quote, "Without community service, we would not have a strong quality of life. It's important to the person who serves as well as the recipient. It's the way in which we ourselves grow and develop," end quote. I believe this colleague agrees with Ms. Height and this concept of fair trade learning, and I know this colleague acts daily to improve the lives of others. Students and alumni stated that this teacher challenged them to think more critically in understanding the interconnected factors in the community. Citing expert application of teaching pedagogies and research approaches, faculty colleagues noted how students have been transformed by their engagement with this year's honoree. One nominator stated that this colleague has grown into her role beautifully as a scholar mentor, end quote. So it's no surprise that students of this faculty become Lumen Scholars, community fellows, and enrollees at top graduate programs. This awardee goes beyond teaching students these concepts. They also practice them in real-world cases. For example, during the corona global pandemic, the Alamance County Health Department found itself with a new health director and a vaccine dissemination plan that lacked an equity approach. As the vaccine clinics saw an underrepresentation of Black and brown communities, the new health director reached out to this faculty member for help. In the essence of civic engagement, our awardee rose to the call, leveraged her relationships, and convened a group of community stakeholders who, together with Healthy Alamance, devised an equity-minded vaccination distribution plan. At this point of the presentation, you should know that our awardee has expertise in community-based participatory research and a highly developed racial equity analysis. This powerful combination contributes to Boldly Elon's Learn, Thrive, and Connect themes. It also reminds me of another quote by scholar, activist, and author Dr. Angela Davis. "In a racist society, it is not enough to be non-racist, we must be anti-racist." In that spirit, today's honoree has developed a reputation in the community as an anti-racist organizer. In all her service roles, including the executive leadership team of Healthy Alamance Board, the Alamance Recovery Loan Oversight Committee, the United Way Greater Greensboro Strategic Planning Committee, she helps others understand the historical and policy factors that undergird racial disparities. Her years of service as a trainer and facilitator for the Racial Equity Institute have been instrumental in the community, the classroom, and co-curricular spaces. Through her affiliation with REI, several Elon students, faculty, and staff have been introduced to a racial analysis that explains the historical and current nature of racism in the United States. Last year, with another faculty member from her department, this awardee co-founded the Health, Equity, and Racism Lab. Her lab's mission is to, quote, "to intentionally and systematically center the analysis of race and racism as the main contributors to health inequities and to utilize an anti-racist approach to research and science as an organizing tool to advocate and act for a more equitable society," end quote. As one nominator stated, she is a catalyst for change in addressing and removing structural barriers to good health that often result in health inequities and disparities for BIPOC community members. I am particularly thrilled to present this year's award because this honoree has been a tremendous resource to me in addressing some of the interesting opportunities that surface on my desk. She immediately responds to my lifeline text, offering space to process and guidance that never centers herself, but instead on the community. To her, I am indebted. Please join me in congratulating the winner of the 2022 Periclean Award for Civic Engagement and Social Responsibility, Associate Professor of Public Health Studies, Dr. Stephanie Baker.
Thank you so much. I'm really choked up about this award. My mentors in this work couldn't even put the words race and racism, in the papers that they wrote, in the grants that they wrote, in the classes that they teach. So to be able to come a generation later and to be acknowledged for my work is really gratifying. I'm indebted to my community partners who hold me accountable every single day, all the time, through text messaging and all of the things, because they really make me better. I wouldn't be able to do this work without them. I remember when I was in graduate school and I was sharing with my uncles, I was learning about public health, and I was like, black men and prostate cancer and all this stuff. And they were like, you didn't have to go to school to learn that. We could have told you if you just had conversations with us. And that was the moment where I realized that all of my work really required the expertise of those most impacted by the problems that we're trying to solve. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
The Elon Teacher Scholar Statement defines scholarship as the creative process of inquiry and exploration that adds to the knowledge or appreciation of disciplinary or interdisciplinary understanding. Within Elon's teacher-scholar model, scholarship is also intimately connected to the art of teaching. It is a serious exercise of what is being taught in the education of students, clear goal setting, adequate preparation, intensive inquiry, and critical reflection. In its mission statement, Elon identifies excellence in scholarship as one of its most central values and affirms its commitment to the nurturing of a faculty dedicated to excellent teaching and scholarly accomplishment. It is in the spirit that we recognize each spring one among the teaching faculty who represents the ideals of scholarly engagement, central to our mission and values. In the spring of 2000, Elon selected its first distinguished scholars. Would the past award winners please stand and be recognized? It is my pleasure today to recognize the 23rd recipient of this award for scholarly distinction. Like previous Distinguished Scholar Award winners, this year's recipient is noted for exceptionally high productivity as well as quality. Since joining Elon a little over a decade ago, today's awardee has published one co-edited collection, over 20 peer-reviewed journal articles and book chapters, delivered over 50 peer-reviewed or invited presentations, and is highly engaged in professional activities spanning from board leadership to extensive service as a peer reviewer. Colleagues recognized national and international leaders in their field hold up this year's award winner as prolific, and their work is exemplary and benchmark setting. Within just over a decade of professional career, today's award winner is already recognized as a central force within their field of research. One colleague within the United States identifies this year's recipient's work as already essential reading. Another international colleague states that even recent works by this year's award winner have become, quote unquote, benchmarks within the field. One distinguished colleague notes this year's award winner is one of a handful of researchers who has persistently dedicated their research to advancing the knowledge and understanding of an understudied but increasingly important global activity. As one scholar and dean notes, their work fills a large void, and another senior colleague notes that their work has been especially significant for scholars like me, seeking to study this complex global activity in and by marginalized communities. As has been true of many Distinguished Scholar Award winners, colleagues at Elon and across the nation and globe highlight this year's recipient's qualities as a leader, mentor, and supporter of others' research. As one international colleague notes, this year's award winner, quote unquote, thinks about the collective and not only about their own benefit. Many note the extensive professional activity they have done to create previously unavailable spaces for scholarly dialogue, connection, collaboration, and growth across international borders. It is especially for emerging and historically minoritized scholars what one international colleague articulates as a contribution to the creation of an international epistemic community. This year's scholarly engagement makes significant contributions to our understanding of how the bonds between governments and diaspora groups are created and fortified through strategic communication. This lens of global engagement and diversity not only interconnects all of their professional activity, but it connects deeply to their teaching and mentoring. They connect their personal experience of being an immigrant, particularly a Latina immigrant to the United States, to the whole of their work in profound and clearly significant ways. This department chair, Faculty Excellence in Research Award recipient for her school, broadly active teacher, global citizen leader, and tireless mentor and advocate reflects the holistic qualities that characterize Elon's highest teacher-scholar distinctions. Please join me in congratulating 2022 Distinguished Scholar, Associate Professor, and Chair of Strategic Communications, Dr. Vanessa Bravo.
Thank you so much. Elon is well, first of all, I care a lot about my research. I care a lot about the people who are the focus of my research. But Elon is a place where the kind of research or the kind of topics that I'm interested in has a place, where it's not true of any or every university. So even though it's not super mainstream, a place like Elon recognizes that it's important, and I so appreciate this. And so I want to thank you. And this could not be more special, given that Dr. Musa Idris, who is my husband, was also recognized today. So thank you very much.
The Daniels-Danieley Award for Excellence in Teaching, established by President Emeritus Earl Danieley and his wife Verona in honor of their parents, has been given annually since 1973 to a faculty member recognized as one of Elon's master teachers. Previous recipients of the Daniels-Danieley Award are listed on your program, and many of these outstanding faculty members are here today. I invite them to stand and be recognized. I'm truly honored and excited to introduce this year's recipient of the Daniels-Danieley Award. Those who assembled the impressive nomination materials say our honoree truly epitomizes the model Elon professor, an engaging teacher, scholar, mentor. Department colleagues enthusiastically wrote that this year's recipient is continually invested in students, creating a classroom ethos characterized by openness, respect, and honesty. Fellow faculty members said our honoree asked questions about issues that might rather be swept under the rug, always seeking paths forward to ensure better experiences for students and a better world for all. A faculty member in another department said, "This year's winner blows my mind continually and is the type of teacher that we all should aspire to be." This year's honoree models empathy, humanity, humility, and academic rigor in classrooms discussions by being an astute listener as well as playing devil's advocate in effective ways that force students to respectfully consider a range of perspectives. One colleague said the ambience that our honoree creates in the classroom is electric, demanding a lot from students and in return giving them more than one might believe possible. This faculty colleague said they are inspired and driven by our honoree and seeks to harness the energy that is extraordinarily contagious. Another colleague notes that learning spills out of the classroom. Students wait after class to continue conversations or ask questions, and there is always someone in this faculty member's office exploring ideas, personal beliefs, career paths, and life decisions. One student said our honoree has a passion that makes you want to learn and encourages students to open up and try to learn about themselves and what they believe in. Another student said, "This class really helped me think about the way I approach life and helped me throughout the semester. I appreciate the life lessons." A member of this spring's graduating class said this faculty member never reprimanded a student for any comment made in class, showing everyone the same amount of care, support, respect, and dignity, regardless of their commitment to the course or content. This student described the family-like mentality that existed in this class and extended beyond the classroom. Each student was asked to bring a song to open the class period, a small act that set the tone for the day and allowed students to connect with each other on a personal level. Many alumni wrote in support of this faculty member's nomination, fondly recalling their time in class and in study abroad experiences, the impact on their lives, and their continuing strong relationship with our honoree. A member of the class of 2015 said our honoree is a giant at Elon because of how much he cares about his students, his community, and the futures of the young people he teaches. While we have now become friends, he has continued to be my mentor. The best teachers are lifelong students, and he is one of the best. The interest and scholarship of our honoree are, well, let's say, eclectic. They range from hip-hop and rock and roll to NASCAR racing to French food and culture to Hinduism. No student could resist studying alongside a faculty member with those varied interests. In fact, his lecture on Hinduism, part of his tour of world religions, has been viewed nearly 1.5 million times over the past 8 years online. That's a lot of teaching. And many of you will know the name of our award winner when I tell you that his students and alumni who live here and around the world, representing a remarkable teaching career of nearly 30 years, are all members of what he calls his tribe. One alumnus describes it this way: by calling us his tribe, he extended his impact far beyond the classroom and challenged us to integrate his lessons into every facet of our lives and Elon and beyond. It was evident that he wanted to enhance our understanding of the world at large. And another graduate said this: "There's no question he has shaped the lives of thousands of Elon students over the years. Moreover, he also shapes other academic communities as his legacy lives on in the new tribes his students go on to build all over the world. His impact will forever be felt in the fabric of his tribe." An inspiring teacher, a respected icon of the Elon faculty, and the leader of his tribe, this year's recipient of the 2021-2022 Daniels-Danieley Award for Excellence in Teaching is Senior Lecturer in Religious Studies, L.D. Russell.
I fear some terrible mistake has been made. I am not supposed to win this award. I've never done anything by the book. I walked onto this campus early in 1993, stumbling out of a doctoral program at Carolina, unable to finish. I felt defeated. I felt hopeless. I came here to teach one course. I did not know what I was doing. The students knew I did not know what I was doing. I think for them it was like having the substitute teacher every day. But it must not have been a total disaster because the department asked me back in the fall and the spring and the fall and the spring. I was an adjunct here for over 10 years, working a day job to support my habit of teaching. And whoever decided to create and implement the lecture position, thank you. Because in 2005, when I came on full-time, I was finally able to dedicate my energy to teaching and to my students. And if you could know, some of you do in your own way, if you could know how much spending time with students in the classroom and out, right, all across this campus, on Williamson, right, in the dining halls, over Zoom, right, how much that has enriched my life. I honestly feel like the richest man in the world. And I want to dedicate this award to my students, and in particular to the Odyssey scholars, my beloved Odysseys, because they remind me, in a way, so much of myself, just being dropped into a college campus, a different world, you know, total scholarships, and having to find my way. And I love spending time with them, and I love being inspired by them, right? And doing whatever I can to make sure that they have a life where they fulfill the potential that I can see in them so clearly. And so many of you know what I'm talking about, right? And without Elon, I never would have had this life. I never would have had this life. And I'm grateful to you, to every one of you. And when I see prospective students and their parents touring campus, oftentimes I will walk over and interrupt because I usually know the tour guide. And I just, you know, engage them in conversation. And one of the things that I say to them is, Elon is a place where dreams come true. And I know this because mine have. So yeah, thank you, Dr. Danieley. Thank you all. Long live Elon.
On the back of your program, it lists the people responsible for making today's luncheon possible. So I just want to especially thank Mary Southern, Patty Gibbons, and Carolyn Ent, along with our partners at Elon Dining, who we know are tremendous partners all year long, and our facilities management folks for making today possible. And thank you for all of your outstanding work. I wish you a wonderful conclusion to the academic year and a restful summer. Take care.